Hello, folks. Your old friend Brian King here. First live I've done in a while. You proud of me? One thing I see far too often in on Instagram, Facebook, social media in general, are the self-appointed preservers of perfect grammar and punctuation in the English language. And I imagine I know some of what's behind this. It's something that people are good at. They want to show what they're good at. And the way they do it is by correcting and criticizing other people's use of the English language and the way they punctuate it. And what a lot of these people don't appreciate, I think, is the fact that, first, they're conditioned by the school system to be perfectionistic about their language. Because we're being taught in school how to prepare reports for work properly. So if you're going into the corporate environment, you need to write like you're going to be working in the corporate environment. People on social media don't work for the corporate environment. They're just talking to each other. They're having conversations. They're being human. One of the prevailing rules out there when it comes to writing is write for the fifth grade level. What does that tell you about who the population is you're speaking to? You're not speaking to technical writers. You're not speaking to college professors or English teachers. Okay, so the same scrutiny isn't required for when you're just interacting with the average person. Now, let's throw reading difficulties and language processing difficulties in there. Things that are present in conditions like dyslexia, ADHD, autism spectrum, and various others. And these conditions make it very difficult to process language in the perfectionistic way that you are requiring from others. In my opinion, the standard needs to be, do I understand what it is you're saying? Do I understand your meaning and your message? If so, let the perfectionism go. All right? In fact, there's a quote that I saw floating through the interwebs this morning from an actress named Keira Knightley. She was in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, if you're a fan. And she is very outspoken about her dyslexia and the experiences she had as a kid. And here's a quote from her. "My spelling makes people laugh, but I was lucky to have a teacher who focused on what I was writing, not how I was spelling it. That let me explore my creativity." I hope you caught that, because the emphasis there was not only on valuing the message over the method. The method may include some misspellings. In my case, I routinely forget words or exchange words, put them in reverse order, or I mess up the spelling. If it wasn't for the spelling checker and things that review my writing, I would not be as articulate in writing as I am now. I also let people do some proofreading if need be. One reason I'm a little bit more particular about my own writing is because I am looking to reach a larger audience. And I want to minimize any confusion. But that's my personal standard. And it requires me to require more of myself. But for the everyday person who's just looking to have a conversation with another person, they may be struggling just by virtue of trying to figure out what the words are to describe what it is they want to say, or what the words are to describe the emotions they're feeling. And upon finding those words, now they have to get them out, which is a totally different set of skills. So one of the reasons why you can find people on the autism spectrum who are nonverbal, but are brilliantly articulate when given the means to put language into the world. Okay, there was an old saying in the past, deaf, dumb, and blind. The dumb referred to the inability to speak. Well, now we know very well the inability to speak is not a reflection of a person's intelligence. So back to the initial point. What Keira said in her post was because of the accommodation and the flexibility the teacher offered her, she could really tap into her creativity. And isn't that what we're here to do ultimately? To create? To find our unique magic and turn it into something that we can put out into the world? And we need to reduce as many barriers as possible to allow people to tap into and share their creativity. Now imagine other people that are perfectionistic now come into the conversation and start nitpicking every single way you articulated your particular message. You didn't put this comma right. You used a semicolon instead of this, or you should have put a hyphen there, and these are the wrong kind of quotations, and this is not the right word to use here. Can you imagine what that feels like? If somebody comes along who you didn't ask for feedback from and starts nitpicking the way you present your story. That is no different than a kid being emotional or an adult being emotional because they have difficulty with regulation, and someone coming along and saying, stop it, don't do that, I'm uncomfortable with that, you're doing that wrong. So what the person hears then is that my message is wrong. The way I talk is wrong. It was wrong for me to bring it up. I know what you're doing is meant to be helpful and supportive. If it's unsolicited, don't do it. If it can somehow be interpreted as something personal, which people with learning difficulties often do, because from a young age, they're usually made to be felt like there's a character defect that prevents them from improving their skills. They're told they're too lazy, they're not motivated enough, they're not trying hard enough, they need to focus better. It's entirely on them to fix something that is neurologically, biologically based, and something that they can do little about changing. So the more criticism you give them that tells them what they're doing is not good enough, you are discouraging them from doing it again. Yes, it's less than perfect the way people talk and communicate these days, but so flippin' what? The bottom line is people are communicating, they're sharing their stories, they're putting themselves out there in courageous ways to be vulnerable, to help other people, and they don't need people coming in and nitpicking the way they do it. They need people to show up and celebrate their courage, to encourage them to keep sharing their message, because what if some other people hear that story and feel less alone? They feel more connected and they feel like maybe there's a chance for them in the world. So please approach things that way. If you want to correct people's grammar and spelling, become an English teacher, become an editor. Don't come on to people's threads and nitpick the minutia, because what you're doing is you're missing the forest for the tree. And we all deserve better treatment and more support from each other and more opportunities to shine. So that's my 2 cents. For whatever this is worth, feel free to scroll on by if you don't agree with it. But if you do, feel free to invite some others to the conversation. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I'm really looking forward to what it is you have to share. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And thanks for being you. I hope I'll be doing another one of these soon. Take care.